Okay, we only have about 24 hours until Fable is gone again. And if you've not done these things yet, drop everything and do them right now, because if you don't, you will live to freaking regret it. Make sure you drop whatever it is that you're doing and get to freaking working. Matter of fact, open up 2 different Claude tabs if it can make you use these Fable 5 tokens faster, because Fable 5 is literally the best model every single one of us in AI have ever seen. It's by far the most beautiful thing. Okay, there's a few beautiful things in this world, but one of the most beautiful things I've ever laid my eyes upon. And in terms of efficiency, there's just really nothing like it. And I was not joking, by the way, because you can actually open up Claude desktop app in multiple times if you didn't know that. But if you've still got some usage left, if this number for you, oh, you can't see it right there. If this number for you is not close to 99% or 100%, maybe you want to keep 1% just left for in case something crazy would happen, or it's actually at 0 and you've been thinking of how to prompt it the best way, let's cover that exactly. If you still have some time, here's what to do. Or maybe you just got your Claude subscription today. Here's what to do. I've left this full guide over in my free school, which I've linked down below. But if you just want a 1-second look, this is the breakdown of what exactly you should be doing in which order right now today, as you only have 24 hours. But if you want to go into it in a bit more detail, let me just break it down like this. There's almost nothing that you need to ask Fable that's a one-time thing, unless you have any sort of decision that can literally cost you thousands of dollars, tens of thousands, millions of dollars, whatever, where if it's not the best AI model possible that would cost you so much, skip it. Build structures. Matter of fact, build it on things that persist, or spend it on things that persist. Any sort of build beats any sort of simple consume. If you're asking it a one simple question, hey, how do I send this email better? Well, I mean, yeah, if that's the most important email in your life, I'm going to be right there on your side. But 99 out of 100 times, Opus would have probably done fine enough. Opus on Max, which you still have a lot of tokens to spend on, but more importantly, you have all the freaking months in the world to spend on, is probably good enough. But Fable is leaving our free plan, or matter of fact, the Pro and Max plans in a day. And that basically means that after that, you have to start spending usage credits. Now, if you didn't know, usage credits are 20 to 100 times more expensive than whatever the plan is that you're using right now. So if it costs you, let's say, you had the $200 plan and you wanted to fill this up and it was $100 because you can only use 50% on it, right, officially. Well, you better understand that the simple bit of Fable you used for 20 bucks may actually cost you $1,400 the moment that it is actually out of this plan, just to put it into perspective. So make sure that you place systems in place, or build systems with Fable, and you give the execution layer to another AI model like Opus. So what this looks like is, you first think out if any single thing you'll be asking it is actually still going to be relevant in a few days from now. Now, I wrote this guide a couple of days ago, that's why it says July 8th. Just think a week from now, will whatever I ask my Fable still be extremely useful? If the answer is no, then it's probably not important enough to insert into this specific Fable usage window, and can either be done with Opus 4.8 or at least be lower on the list of priorities. And actually, one thing a lot of people have not realized is that in order to actually take the best advantage of Claude Fable 5, you actually have to go into your Claude and press it on. I've talked to a lot of people right now that have been into AI, but they actually have never really realized that there's a button to change the setting of which model it is that you're using. And maybe on standard, it's actually on Opus 4.8. And in case you didn't know, you can see there's a button right there that puts you into Fable 5. And really, for 99% of your decisions, I would not go above Fable 5 on high. Matter of fact, if they're kind of important but not that important, you can even use Fable on low, because it's still significantly better than Opus 4.8. I believe they are saying. Oh, I was actually looking at, in this time right now, I was looking for a comparison between the Fable cost versus the Opus costs, and all of a sudden I realized this post right here that showcases just how ridiculously well-priced Fable is right now, and the reason they're taking it off. If you got the $200 a month subscription, which I do, which most people I think watching this have, or at least a $20 a month subscription, you can probably use tens of thousands of dollars worth of tokens within that plan. Or in this case, this person says he was able to spend $100,000 to $300,000 based on Fable API pricing just within a single plan. That's why I said, even though you know, if you follow the rule, you know what, let me just say it like this. If you can get access to multiple accounts, by asking your friends to work on this too and use their credits, so to speak, do think about it, because whatever you're doing right now will be at least 20 to 100 times more expensive 48 hours from now. But anyway, once you've turned this on, start thinking about what your hardest decisions are, or you ask your Claude what some of the biggest triggers or biggest decisions you still have got left are, and attack them. Start going against them, start going for them. And also, start looking at every single structure you've built. What exactly are you doing in what way? Can we improve that in a certain way, shape, or form? Any single skill we have, every single routine we have, every single code sequence we have, every single code verifier that we have. Maybe you downloaded skills and you've been using the same skills, but actually for your specific setup they could be optimized. All those things could last you so long, the next couple of months, and it's better to think them out right now that you still have access to the best possible AI. Because again, writing things that just are a simple one sentence with a one sentence back is, in my opinion, a waste of tokens. But building systems that last, or spending your freaking hard-earned tokens on optimizing your workflow forever, is worth a ton. Now, there's another thing that a lot of people forget to actually give Fable before their time runs out, and that is the instructions your AI runs on. This is what I specified earlier. In my own personal case, what I told Fable was, I want to spend less tokens, list ways to do it. And it came up with a structure of a 10-80-10. A lot of people have already been talking about these sort of loops, which basically means your better AI model thinks of the structure and the plan. A worse AI goes and does the groundwork to actually build whatever it is that you wanted to build. Now, you can, of course, do this all yourself manually as well, but you can let Fable set it up. And then the last 10% is again done with your better AI to make sure the decisions or the conclusions are drawn out to the perfect extent. But in another way, maybe your Claude MD file or every single setup a chat inherits, or maybe the structure of how your files are organized could be optimized still. Or actually, how Fable, or I guess from the future on, how Claude outputs back to you. Maybe it's wasting a ton of tokens on output. It's giving you a whole lap of text in a really inefficient way, or is doing research in a really stupid way. Make sure the processes that Claude uses all the time are optimized, and it will save you a lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of headaches in the future. And this is, again, things that really nobody will ever regret spending tokens on. Here are the points that I already stated: the scheduled tasks, or here it says one playbook interview. What I also personally did is I asked my Fable to ask me as many questions as it can think of, and it came up with about 300 of them about my business, about my personal life, my goals, my structures, whatever. And let's start opening a dialogue, get some conclusions in on how to optimize whatever it is that we're doing. Now, you may think, Dusty, but that's kind of like the same as doing a one-way conversation or something like that. For me, the most important thing is, since I've already built out with Fable all the most important structures I can think of, all the most important rebuilds, all the most important outputs, what exactly is it that I need to improve over the next couple of months? And the real building I could do with Opus 4.8, but I need to think out how we're going to improve it, and the actual improvement itself I can do with the lesser models in time. No hurry about that. But how we're going to structure that, I need to do right now. And matter of fact, if you've still got some tokens left, especially at the end of the window, I would highly suggest to use them on whatever. And the nicest thing I can think of is you let your Fable or your Claude make you a couple of different prompts you can still run. I had that a couple of days ago, just before the previous reset. What I did was I structured out something really quite difficult in terms of a website design that I wanted Claude to build. I did it with 4.8 before. I told Fable to overwrite the plan, redo it. So it made a whole new structure, and the nice thing is, it's a structure. Since it now has made a website the way Opus 4.8 did, but then like in a restructured way, it now made it the Fable way. The thing is, even though I will not have access to Fable in a cheap rate anymore in the near future, since it was able to do it once, most likely every single full Opus 4.8 session can now look back at the way that Fable wrote the code for that website and try to replicate it, at least in some way, shape, or form, at a fraction of the cost. And I really also want to reiterate, make sure you do not have any sort of stupid thing connected to Fable. Don't let it go over your emails. Don't let it write stupid summaries or do all the routine stuff that you really don't need the best AI that's ever come on this earth for. I'm a bit of a hypocrite. I also decided to try out and see exactly how good Fable 5 was by putting it on max and asking it how to cook an egg, which you may say is a waste of tokens. I think it's just an expression of freedom, you know? I wanted to know exactly how you could cook an egg to the best of my ability, and Fable 5 on max delivered, even though it probably cost me hundreds of dollars to generate this question. Anyway, if you're wondering which of these, some of the stuff I just covered you should be doing first, let me just say it like this. Every single one of these on their own is really powerful, but think long term. Do not think, ooh, I have this one thing I'm not too sure about. Let me spend half my freaking Fable 5 budget on it. No, think out how to structure things going forward. And one more little golden tip I decided to only give to people that watch to the end. The first instruction you should give Fable 5 is to output in the least amount of tokens possible, or rather to keep the output so extremely short that all that's written right there is what is absolutely necessary. Example, if we're talking and we're asking a question like how to cook an egg, we obviously already prompted that wrong. And so one thing you could actually do is use Opus 4.8 to think of any sort of prompt you can insert into Claude Fable 5 that will actually, in the output, save you tokens. And that basically means if I'm writing right here, how to cook an egg, the way I could have better written was I go to Opus 4.8. And one example I can think of here, don't copy this word for word, it's about the structure. Let's just say you want to get something done. You ask Claude to make sure that every single output from there on forward is as efficient as possible. And I said, like the caveman skill. One skill a lot of people like to use over on Claude, I believe was called Caveman, if we quickly scroll through right here, is apparently it saves about 60% on the output tokens. And remember what I said in my previous video, it is always better to write as much as possible in a single prompt rather than spend it over a conversation. Because let's just say, this little conversation of, where are you at, bro? And I don't know, let's go fishing, right? Let's say this is you and the AI. In total would have been 14 tokens. Because where you at, bro, it's like kind of like 4 tokens-ish, right? Not exactly the words, but you get the idea. And then, I don't know, let's go fishing is 10 tokens for some reason. Doesn't really matter, 14 in total. If we look right here, it's turn 5. This prompt costs us 67 tokens because every single message prior is also taken into account. So it's like the combination of every single token that was spent before-ish. And the way to visualize this, every single AI, the way the whole structure works is it takes whatever sentence you inserted it and takes it into users said blah, 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 blah. Now, users said, that takes tokens and blah, 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 whatever, is also tokens. But then afterwards, the computer actually gives you an output, right? That whole debacle is now copied and pasted every single time into the next output. So it just keeps stacking and stacking and stacking. And so the amount of tokens that you use for each output are just more and more and more. And also remember that output token, so whatever the computer says, is a lot more expensive than whatever you insert into it because, well, computationally, it's a lot easier for it to understand what you're saying rather than to actually predict what it needs to say back. Anyway, the point still being of this caveman stuff is that essentially every single skill you can think of that can compress replies can really be helpful, unless the skill itself actually costs more tokens to run every single time, so that it depends kind of on what you do. But you can ask your Claude if this will be useful for you. And you can, of course, just ask that in a Sonnet or an Opus session. If you're using Claude Code, this could be useful to some, just pointing it out there. And one more tip some people have given, I saw it on Reddit and I keep seeing people talk about this in the comments, is they say if you're using the $20 a month plan, you can actually, this is again what's been said. I upgraded a long time ago, so I don't quite remember. They say you can finish that plan almost to the end, and then once it's like at the limit, you upgrade to the higher plan so that actually the limit's reset, so you have a bit more usage. I believe you also get a bit more free API credits if you upgrade every single time. If you go from $20 and you spend $1 of it, then go to $100, you get $100, I believe, free. And if you then go to $200, I believe you get $200 worth of API credits for free from Anthropic. Not 1,000% sure on that, but I believe that's something you could also do. Obviously, that will require you to have a pretty expensive subscription, but hey, we're talking here about saving a ton of money over time by doing things now today. And so even if you're not thinking of that sub, if you ever needed Claude Fable 5 or something, this is really your time to use it because afterwards it's going to be so freaking expensive, you'll wish you did it right now. Anyway, like I said, if you want a full-on guide on how to set this up, just go take a look at the school. It's the first link in the description down below. And I'll see you guys again in another AI video, hopefully some related today, because there's a lot that still needs to be covered.